Hey everybody, welcome to the GMG review. Today I'm taking a look at one of the latest expansions for 9th edition Warhammer 40,000, chapter approved, the Tactical Deployment Mission Pack. So what is this? I was confused when this showed up. I actually hadn't really dug my teeth into what these mission packs were going to be. And chapter approved being mostly about match play now, it feels like these sort of like lay flat expansions are going to be a way of creating almost like an event guide or a way to play book for the 3 core ways of play, like open play, match play, narrative play. I have another one that you can see today. There'll be another review for the Crusade Beyond the Veil, which is in the same sort of book format as this. You can see it's small, it's A5, but in that same sort of like ring bound lay flat, where it's a game accessory designed to sit next to your gaming table, open up flat, and be a reference for whatever you need. Now, I do really like these book formats. It's super handy for gameplay. I love that it's lay flat. The covers themselves are in this like awesome hard plasticized sort of like finish, where I don't know how many, I'm gonna date myself now, but if you remember old like RPG source books and game source books that were perfect bound, they would always get this thing where they would like roll up at the corners, and there used to be this thing you do when you got your gaming books where you'd immediately tape the edge so that it didn't do it. I remember my buddy Lionel and I talking about this, oh geez, like 15 years ago or whatever, when he was borrowing a game book from me and he saw that I taped it, and we had this like funny conversation about how if you'd been gaming for a long time, you just started to do that because they would roll up. But this is like the anti-roll up finish basically for game books. And then yeah, you can see the whole spine lays out here, and then it's ring bound, so you can just open it up and it goes flat. And it contains more actually than just the missions for this tactical deployment way of playing the game, which is a match play variation for playing the game. It also has the full rules. So from here on, if you just wanted a copy of the Warhammer 40,000 rules, the rules are in here all the way through into strategic reserves, objective markers, and a glossary too. So it really is handy in that it's designed not just to give you this section, which is a different way of playing the game, but also when you have it open at the game table, if you just need to reference something, it's all right there. So like everything you need is sort of like in here in one shot. And yeah, so let's just jump in. It's really to the point. This is a chapter approved thing, so there's not a lot of like beating around the bush. It's what is this? Tactical Deployment Mission Pack. It's a match play mission pack that puts your terrain collection at the heart of the action. In these missions, in addition to mustering your army of Citadel miniatures, you'll gather a collection of tactical terrain features. Now, the one downside of this book review you're going to see today is I don't know what any of the terrain features except for the one example in here do, because that information comes in the Battlezone boxes. And those Battlezone boxes, I've seen the first one. It came out when 9th edition launched. I didn't realize there was actually rules for the terrain in the box, and it's designed to be incorporated into here. So the idea behind this is you show up to like an event, or you show up to play a tactical terrain or a tactical deployment game, and you didn't just bring your army of Citadel miniatures, you also brought the like 3 to 4 pieces of terrain that you are going to use on your half of the board, and your opponent brings theirs. So what this feels like is it's a way of trying to include terrain in your army or in your Citadel miniature collection as something you actually use, and to give yourself like in-game benefits. And then what this box is what this book is basically doing is giving you missions for all battle level in match play to play them with. And I think that's cool. I mean, that's a neat idea. It means that there's some value to those Citadel kits apart from just being the thing that blocks line of sight and has some occasional rules. So it uses the same sort of match play format. You select a battle size, so combat, patrol, incursion, strike force, and onslaught. It gives you your point limit. So 500, 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. I really wish there was a 1,500 point game level. It feels like the not too hot, not too cold, just right. Like having played a bunch of 40K now, 2,000 point games take forever. 1,000 point games are fun, but you feel like you could use a little bit more extra stuff. 1,500 points is just like this sweet spot. I think I'm just gonna write, like, I'm gonna use the strike force missions because they feel right. I'm just gonna like make up a variation where, what is it, between incursion and strike force, we'll call it battles. We'll call it Warhammer level, and it's like 1,500 points, and it's 9 command points because that feels like the right. Like I feel like I have just too many command points, but not enough stuff. Anyway, and then it has instead of having a rule of 1 for the combat patrol missions, you get a rule of 2 and a rule of 3 for incursion and strike force for these games. And then you gather your tactical terrain. So After you've selected a battle side and mustered your armies, you're going to buy a tactical train, and depending upon the game size, it's going to be different amounts. So like a combat patrol, you have a minimum number of train data sheets. You have to bring at least 2 pieces of train for a 500-point game. You can have a maximum of 1 and 1 for the critical features. Some features are like you're not allowed to spam them. You can only have them once. I imagine the Fortress of Redemption's like that. And then your minimum train points you can spend is 50 and your maximum is 100. So you have to have at least 2 pieces of train. You can have each one once. You can repeat the criticals once, and then your max amount of train that you can have is based on the point values for the train features. Incursion, it goes to 3 minimum, Strike Force 4 minimum, Onslaught 5 minimum. The maximums for each type is 2 for incursion, well, sorry, 1 for combat patrol, 2 for incursion, 3 for strike force, 4 for onslaught. So as the table gets bigger, you can have more duplicates. But the critical ones are still 1 all the way to onslaught, and then you can have 2. And so it's minimum 50 or 100 for combat patrol, 100 or 150 for incursion. Strike force is 150 to 200. Most, like the one train feature I've seen in here, the Feign, is like 40 points. So if they're between 40 and 60 points on average for like a big fixed terrain feature, what you're talking about is every order of 50 here is each player showing up with like 1 to 2 pieces of terrain. Here it's 2 to 3, here it's 3 to 4, and here it's 6 to 8. Like it jumps right up for onslaught. And that's okay. Like I'm using that as like a rough sort of like estimation of like how much terrain you'd be using based on these point values. The problem is, again, I can't really speak to that because I don't have the cards. I don't have the battle zone, so I don't really know what the point values for the train features are. And I even looked in the app and I couldn't find there's a name for it actually on the cards. It's called Battlezone or Tactical Train Data Sheet. I couldn't find any of the data sheets in the app. So unfortunately, I don't know what to, like I can't compare a spectrum of point values really. And so now you've got your army, you got your terrain, and like let's say we were like going to go to an event at Warhammer World and play here. I'm imagining that that's going to be the easiest. Like Warhammer World's going to love this because you're basically just laying out flat tables. Because then when you get to the next step, you're actually going to start deploying this stuff. So you determine your mission. So you'd roll a d6 for like the incursion, or if you're an event, they'd pick one and tell you. There's 3 for combat patrol, 6 for incursion, and I'll look at an example of each one just to give you guys sort of like a breakthrough of the game. 6 for strike force, and then 3 for onslaught. So on the small and big game sizes, they're not giving you so many missions, but the meaty ones, the 1,000 to 2,000 point levels that most people will be playing, they're going to give you 6 missions to play through. You get a sheet for noting all your deployment and stuff as part of your army list. You read your mission briefing, you create the battlefield. So it's funny, the players now create the battlefield. They're played on rectangular battlefields using Battlezone boards. So it doesn't give you a minimum. It actually says use the boards that we're selling you to play this mission style because you're using the battle zones to play this mission style. So this is literally an expansion designed to use those kits, those Battlezone kits. And it doesn't say that the dimensions are minimums. It says use the Battlezone boards. So for combat patrol incursion, you're playing with 2 Battlezone boards. And if you haven't seen those, they're the same size as the kill team boards or the Warcry boards. They're 22 by 30. But you're going to use 2 of them in this to make a 44 by 30. Then Strike Force is 4 Battlezone boards, 44 by 60, and Onslaught is 6 Battlezone boards, so 44 by 90. So what you're talking about here is basically a 5 by almost 4, and then even bigger than that. So 90 is 72 is 6 feet, so then 90 is almost 7.5 feet by almost 4 feet. So some pretty big table for Onslaught. And then no train features are set up yet. Now you place your objectives, then you turn attacker and defender, then you choose deployment zones, then you put your tactical train down because the train isn't set up until after you know what side you're on, and that's a big part of the actual mission. So the train features get placed going back and forth between players, but they're based on the amount of points they are. So the highest train point cost, so the bigger a piece of train is basically, the sooner you're going to put it down. I'm going to show you a map right now just so you can see an example of what that's going to look like. So for instance, Seas ground here, right? These are my territory, your territory, player A and player B deployment zones. You'd put down the most expensive one you have first, and you have to put them on within 9 of the center of one of these points to start off with. So you have to fill up these points first, then you can place your remaining train anywhere you want. So for this one, which is combat patrol, we each have to have 2. That means there's 4 pieces of train. They're going to go on these grid points basically at the start. And then we go back and forth and we deploy all our train that we've got in our tactical train collection. They can't be placed, so sorry, if the deployment map has a train marker on it, you have to place your first, like your first pieces on those points first, within 9 of the center, wholly within 9 of the center of them. So you have an 18-inch circle to put them in, so no matter how big it is, it should fit. Train features can't be set up within 3 inches of the edge of a battlefield. Can't be set up within 3 inches of another train feature. Obstacles and buildings can't be set up on top of objective markers. If a hill or area train feature is put on top of objective marker, it's placed on top of it as close to the original position as possible. And if it can't be set up, it can't be used. And then you must use the train rules on the data sheet. So you can't not use the train rules. Like, it's specifying that you have to. So I think that's neat. And again, like I said, this would be like the easiest tournament ever to run, because you would just show up with your own train collection. So from a tournament organizer point of view, if your opponent has to, if you have to, like, you could say you're using this train pack or whatever, or, you know, we're gonna use, if you had battle boards, I guess, you could just play, you know what I mean? And like, and not have to worry about the train setup and stuff like that. Select secondaries, just like in normal match play. Declare reserves and transports, deploy armies, determine first turn, pre-battle abilities, begin the battle, end battle, determine victor. So all that stuff that's normally in match play is in there. It basically adds that tactical train deployment phase. And then here's an example of a train data sheet. So here's a train data sheet for the storage fane. It comes in Battlezone Manufactorum. This tactical train sheet is a storage fane train feature. It has one pipeway access point shown on the reverse of this card with a blue key line. So I imagine it's not on here because I can't see the card, so I don't know exactly what it looks like. But it's got a blue key line. Storage fane is an area train feature. Its footprint shown on the reverse of this card is the yellow key line. So there's actually a footprint for how you place it down too, for its size, which I think is interesting. And it has the following train traits: breachable, defensible, light cover, and scalable. And ammunition storage. At the start of your shooting phase, you can select one unit that's wholly within this train feature. Until the end of the phase, up to half the models can throw grenades. Sweet, because there's just lots of them lying around. In addition, each time a model that is wholly within this train feature makes a ranged attack, reroll hit rolls of 1. So, cool. It's lots of ammunition and lots of grenades lying around. So that's, I mean, for 40 points, you're basically giving reroll ones to hit. And if it's a cool grenade unit, they can all hum grenades out. That's neat as like a separate part of your army. And if you're talking about playing its incursion, that's like 3 to 4 pieces of stuff like this. Like, you only take this one once, but still pretty cool. And then you've got your train features. This is all just the generic 40k rules for train. So it's interesting because the core rules are at the back, but they reprint the advanced rules from the rulebook for train features right here at the beginning so that you have them all for your train features. Now, I do kind of wish they just printed all the cards from like whatever's available now in this book, because I can't like, unless I go buy Battlezone, I can't actually play these games. I don't know what the points are for the train features. I don't know what they do. Well, sorry, I know what the rules are. I don't know what the rules do, and maybe they'll end up in the 40k app, and then I can actually just use my train collection, because I do have a lot of like actual 40k train, but I don't know what the cards for tactical train are. And so I can't actually use it. And then here's some common train features. This is all just straight in the 40k rulebook. Same exact information. Secondaries, again, out of the rulebook. So again, a lot of the advanced rules for match play from the rulebook are just in here. So if you just wanted to play match play, this gives you all that info too. So you didn't, apart from the missions being slightly different, you can use all of this stuff in your general games of 40k. What does battle ready mean? I thought this was cool because you get 10 points in match play for being painted. It gives you some examples. I thought that was really neat. That's like that's a handy like guideline. Well, what do we mean by this thing in painted for those people that want to try and game the system? Then we got our mission. So a combat control mission. So the one I looked at before, seize ground. So it's a standard match play mission. You're taking hold. So control 1, control 2, control more for the objectives. And there's 3. There's 1 on my territory, 1 in your territory, and 1 in the center. And then seize ground progressive. So at the end of the battle round, score a number of victory points equal to that shown in the table below for one of the objective markers that you control. So if you have A, basically your own's worth 1, your opponent's is worth 4. If you have the center one, it's worth 2. All right. So like it's an end of round 1 where you can progressively try and get more points if you take it. Then let's look at the incursion missions, meeting engagements. So it's again, control 1, control 2, control more, and there's 2 in the center, 1 across, and then vital ground. And if you command phases, you score 3 VPs if you control the objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone, and 2 for the ones that are in no man's land, for a maximum of 7. Secondary cannot be scored in the first battle round. So cool, it's seize ground, but then you have to put terrain here and here and here and here. So these are very much like the standard match play missions in 40k, but with the added thing of here's where your terrain has to be placed. And I do kind of like that. It gives you a basic train requirement. Like if we're playing an incursion level here, I think it's a minimum of 2, minimum of 2 with 100 to 150 points we have to spend on terrain. So we're probably having 6 pieces of terrain. We know 4 of them are going to go like in each table quarter. It's just a way of kind of like dictating where terrain goes. I think that's okay. That's cool. And then let's look at a Strike Force one. Protect the nerve center. So terrain here, terrain here. And then terrain has to be on objectives. Now that's neat, right? No objective standing in no man's land. We have to have terrain on these objectives right here. And these are our personal headquarters. If you select this objective, then before the battle, you must identify one area terrain feature that your army has the highest terrain point cost and declare that to your opponent. Score 2 victory points at the end of the battle round if you control that terrain feature. In addition, score 5 victory points if you control that terrain feature that your enemies won. This objective can't be scored in the first battle round. So what you're doing is you're saying, yes, we have to put 4 pieces of terrain down, but these 2 are your home base, which makes choosing it kind of cool, actually, from the point of view. Like that one at the beginning, the Manufactorum or the Feint or whatever would be cool for having your home base be in, because you can throw grenades and get extra, bullets and stuff out of it. And then look at this. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 terrain pieces that have to be here, and 4 of them are like really close to the middle. Entrenched defenses. So like your defenses are basically, and you have home bases too. So you have 3 in your deployment zone that are home bases, 2 that are out front in no man's land. There's 5 minimum pieces of terrain per person that are like dictated in this one. And it's secure strongholds. So it's the same variation of the vital terrain or whatever. At the end of each of your command phases, you score 1 if you control the objective marker in your own deployment zone, or 5 if you control the one in your the objective marker in your own deployment zone, the objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone. So if you control both, basically. So if you get yours and theirs, you're going to get bonus objectives. And it's again, it's control 2, control 3, control more, because it's a big game. And that's for like a 3,000 point game, right? And that's it. And then we're into the basic rules again. So flipping through those so that you have them as reference at the back. And I think that's handy. And then you got your mission scoring sheet. So that's basically just an ITC scoring sheet, because that's what match play is now. And a glossary of terms, which I thought was cool, for like common terms in 40K. So what do I think about the book? Well, I think that this is going to be a great sort of like event guide and like accessory for like the game table. And if you really are trying to make terrain like a bigger part of your 40K games, then cool, because it means that it's going to have all kinds of cool special rules. I don't know what tons of those are, but if one of the basic 40-point ones is reroll 1s with all your guns if you're inside it, and also get to throw half your unit with grenades. I mean, that's pretty powerful if both sides can have access to that kind of thing to just like augment their units. I can think of some things that would be pretty cool for. Yeah, so I mean, I like it because it's it's matched play in a way that actually makes the battlefield matter and feels like there's a bit of story into it. Like I like the idea of the home base attacks and kind of that narrative, and creating a bit more immersion where the table matters a bit more. That's one of the things I've always felt lacking from those missions, where it's like hold 1, hold 2, hold more, where it's just buttons on an area. I like the imagery that the terrain presents to a game, where it's like, this is my home base, this is your home base, you're assaulting mine while trying to hang on to yours. It gives just that little bit of extra like storytelling to a match play game that I feel would like buy me into it more. You know what I mean? And then getting to bring my own like terrain collection too, where I have that piece of terrain that is my home base. You know what I mean? Where I might put my chapter banners on it or something like that, where I have the opportunity to personalize it and customize it and make it mine. I like that too. You know what I mean? I can have like casualty models for my army on it. I can do that little bit extra work. And it allows for some interesting eventing. I guarantee the Warhammer World fellas are probably going to do some really cool stuff with this book in particular. And if you want to get your opportunity to have your army in a display cabinet at Warhammer World, those events are usually the way to do it. And tons of modeling opportunities when the terrain collection is part of the day as well. So I think it's gonna be really cool. I would love to see, when we eventually have events coming back and stuff again, things like Adepticon, this kind of thing get used in the official programs, because then this book is accessible to everybody. It's great because it has the rules in here, so like you can reference what things do. And if they support it more with things like the app so that my existing terrain collection can get used in this, I'll be super happy. I'll be really excited. So yeah, there it is. Mission-packed tactical deployment, master train to control the battlefield. I hope you enjoyed that look at it. I'm going to take a look at Crusade Beyond the Veil next, which is super cool, and you can check it out by going up in the cards here. And we'll look at some narrative play stuff, some cool missions where, the Ultramarines show up. Gilliman sends the Ultramarines out to where some plants have gone quiet and realizes the Necrons are building pylons and things are going all squirrely Dan Abnett Eisenhorn trilogy out there. So anyway, big thanks for watching. We'll see you for more GMG reviews in the future. Ton of mash. Happy gaming. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you want to support the channel, of course, like and subscribe and hit the little bell below to get notifications when I post future content. I do post stuff 7 days a week. If you want to support the channel further, you can, of course, buy a t-shirt through Spreadshirts, buy a measuring gauge or objective markers from Death Ray Designs, or, of course, most importantly, there is Patreon. Patreon is what makes all this possible, keeps the lights on, pays for the studio costs, pays for the equipment, model costs, and everything else, and most importantly, puts food in my kids' bellies and a roof over their heads. Big thanks to everyone, past, future, who supported me. I do this stuff because of you guys, and of course, I will continue doing it as long as I can.